So we'll see what happens, whether anyone joins me or not. But potentially everyone else is out there not hanging out on Facebook right now. I know a couple of people are jumping on, which is really awesome. Hi Alex, hi Vicky. Wine. You and I have to make that happen. Hi anyone else who is jumping on live with me. Please give me a little... Alright. Brilliant. This is the first time I've done an evening live and my Wi-Fi just wigged out, so I've just turned it off and we're just going to roll with 4G and see what happens. Hi Emily, hi John, hi Russell, hi Ian, hi David, thank you all for joining me. Hi Sarah. Okay, so a few people are jumping on, which is awesome. Monique, how are you doing? Russell Ross, you are here. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to stop shouting out. Ola from Spain. Hi. I'm a little bit jealous, I'm going to be honest. I mean, Melbourne's awesome and it's pretty hot. Don't know why I'm wearing a jumper, but would rather be in Spain probably. Hi James, thank you all for joining me. So I'm going to stop shouting out to people now, and I am just going to start my flow and start opening my mouth, and we will, as always, see what comes out of it. So yesterday I had the absolute honour and privilege. Thank you, Sarah. You are awesome too. So yesterday I had the absolute privilege of delivering a keynote speech to about 200 women who all work for, or who are all stylists in the... Oh, it's freezing and raining in Spain. I'm sorry. Secretly not sorry. Hashtag... okay, right, sorry, let me go on. Okay, so yesterday I had the honour and the privilege of delivering a keynote speech to about 200 women that are part of the Intimo brand. Now, if you are in Australia and you're female, potentially you've heard of Intimo, and if you're not, potentially you haven't. Intimo is a lingerie brand and they're phenomenal. It's a beautiful, gorgeous company with some values and morals which I completely and totally and utterly align with, and I'm totally on board with their message. And so it was a real honour and a privilege to stand in front of about 200 women yesterday and get to talk to them and deliver a keynote speech. And in my private Facebook group, which you're more than welcome to go ahead and join. It's called That Crazy Thing Called Love. I'll pop the link in the comments box below. Tomorrow I'm going to go live into that group and I'm going to talk about how and I'm going to use this word, manifested that opportunity, and how I called in that opportunity from the universe. So I'm going to go into That Crazy Thing Called Love, my private Facebook group. If you're not already part of it, please hop on. I'll put the link in the comments box below. As I said, hop on in there and request to join that group and I will approve you. I'm going to go live in that group tomorrow to talk about how I actually created that opportunity for myself, because there is some real tangibles that I can give you around creating any kind of opportunity that you want for yourself, whether it be love, whether it be finances, whether it be business success. So I'm going to give you the sort of step-by-step process that I followed in order to create this lifestyle for myself, but certainly that particular opportunity, because it really was sort of all sorts of wonderful universal laws all coming into play. I'm loving all of these love hearts, so just keep them coming. It's making me really, really happy. But what I really wanted to talk about today to the broader community is one of the kind of pillars, I guess, that I talked about in my keynote speech. Because today I've had a beautiful day of receiving some really gorgeous, amazing feedback from some of the women who were in the room. And I've had loads of PMs, loads of private messages sort of saying, like, fucking rocked it, awesome, amazing. And, you know, my response has been, well, what was your favourite part? What was the bit that resonated with you the most? And the bit that resonated, ironically, with people the most was the bit that I wasn't really expecting. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit today because I think it can really help some people out. So the theme of my keynote speech, or the theme of the conference, was how to feel good and how to be happy, and the impact that that is going to have in every single area of your life, not just in your relationships, but also in terms of business success and monetary wealth. And so today I want to talk a little bit about one of those components that I talked about that really resonated with the audience. And it is this. It's called being kind. And it sounds a little bit like, of course you should be kind. But actually, it's quite hard to be kind sometimes, and here's why. Because the world is full of wankers. gonna call it like it is because it's me and I don't sugarcoat shit and I am very upfront and honest, and anyone who's been following me or watching my lives or attended any of my workshops will know that I am extremely honest about how I view life. And the reality is there are a fair amount of fucking dickheads walking this planet, and they're irritating and they're annoying and they trigger us. And they kind of like really, they can make us so angry on the inside. And when we get angry, when other people do or say or behave in a certain way that pisses us off, we have to deal with the feeling, right? Not them. They don't have to deal with the feeling of me being pissed off. I have to deal with that. And here's why it's dangerous. Because the universe is constantly listening to how you feel, and it is responding on a vibrational level to how you feel. So when I'm feeling annoyed and pissed off and angry with the world, I end up attracting in on a vibrational level, because everything is energy. Every single cell of your body is vibrating at an energy frequency, at an energy level. And this is just science. This isn't me being some fucking woo-woo hippie cunt, right? This is just normal science. And so every single cell of my body is vibrating, as is yours, right? And the level that it vibrates at, the frequency that it vibrates at, the density that it vibrates at, will attract in more of the same, because like frequencies attract in like frequencies. So if I'm vibrating up here and in a really, really light frequency, in a happy kind of frequency, from love and abundance and acceptance, I will attract in more of the same, i.e. I will attract in people and circumstances and experiences that match that frequency. If I'm vibrating down here with anger and resentment and fear and guilt and shame, those lower vibrational frequencies, I'm going to vibrate in people and experiences and circumstances that reflect that vibration. So when other people around us piss us off, and we surrogate that energy, we take on that energy, we end up vibrating at that same energetic frequency, we are going to invite more of the same thing in. So when it comes to feeling good and being happy, which was the theme of my talk yesterday, it's really important that we start working out a way and giving ourselves a strategy that when other people do things which are not in our control, because we can't control other people, we can only ever control ourselves, that we have some kind of strategy behind us whereby we can say, all right, hang on a minute, am I going to accept this and surrogate in this energy and reflect back this energy, and therefore create a reality for myself that is also of that frequency, i.e. pissed off. The world is full of wankers. Because here's the other thing that I know about life. What you focus on, sorry, my phone's just suddenly gone crazy. What you focus on grows in this world. So wherever you direct your focus, you will bring in more of the same thing. If you are looking in this world for the people who are annoying, you will see more of the people who are annoying. If you look in this world for the good, you will see more of the good. It's just basic law of the universe. And it's really important that in order to feel good and therefore to create a reality which is happy, you learn how to monitor those frequency levels in your own being despite what other people are doing. So I'm going to give you something really, really tangible around doing that, because once you master this, you can start vibrating in phenomenal relationships, phenomenal experiences, phenomenal wealth, phenomenal health. Every part of your life will raise in a vibrational frequency, and so you will begin to feel happier and therefore create a happier reality for yourself. Now, the reality is, we can't change other people. We can't change the fact that on this planet there are lots of people who are walking around, and some of them are wankers. Some of them are behaving in a way that isn't congruent with how we would want people to behave around us. Can we do any, like attracts like? Yes, it does, Jenny. It completely does. Love green on me. Okay, thanks. So let me give you this little story, because we all know love's a story, right? So I have a friend, and he recently broke his leg, which is a shit thing to happen, right? It's kind of debilitating and really annoying, especially if you're in Melbourne at the moment, where it is like 4,000 degrees every day, sweaty and like heavy and like quite close. So really annoying to have your leg in plaster and to be hobbling around on crutches. And I met up with him a couple of weeks ago and I was like, dude, how's it going? This has got to be a bit shit for you, right? Me completely presupposing that this is an awful thing that has happened to him. And he turned around and he said something really surprising. And he said, actually, do you know what? Breaking my leg has been really awesome. And I was a bit like trying to work out what that meant. And I was like, okay, so give me a little bit more of a context about that, because that's baffling me. Because for me, it would be like one of the worst things in the world. And he said, well, people are so kind. He said, I walk to a door and people run to hold the door open for me. And before I broke my leg, before my leg was in cast, before I was on crutches, people would just let that door swing in my face. And then he was like, I jump on a tram and everyone stands up and offers me their seat. And he was like, the other day I was queuing up for a coffee and I went to pay, and all of a sudden all these people were around me offering assistance. Someone held my crutches, someone held my coffee while I got my wallet out my pocket to pay the money for my coffee. He said it's really lovely because you see this compassion in people that you wouldn't normally see. And it really got me thinking, how many of us, and the answer is all of us, how many of us carry, I don't want to say the word broken, but carry or harbour on the inside bits of us that really hurt, and bits of us that are damaged, and bits of us that are a little bit broken. But because it's not physically on display, we don't afford each other that compassion and that kindness. And I wonder how many of us would feel more compassionate to our fellow man or woman if we could see on the outside how they're feeling on the inside. And just because my arm isn't broken doesn't mean I'm not having a bad day, and it doesn't mean that I'm not hurting, and it doesn't mean that I'm not injured. But because you can't see it physically, you assume I'm fine. And we all do this to each other all the time. And I don't think in today's society we communicate feeling enough. And so we tend to tell each other that we're fine, even though that morning we may have woken up with the worst anxiety, feeling like the universe is pressing down on our chest. But we don't communicate that with each other, and we don't see it in each other. Because we're all trying to hold our shit together. We're all trying to make it look like we've got life sorted and everything is okay. And the reality is, very few of us have got our shit together. I'm the last person to turn around and say, I've got my shit together, because I don't. I have on the inside all of the human feels, and they're no less or greater than the physical ailment of breaking a limb. But because no one else can see it, we assume that this person has snapped at me because they're an asshole, right? We assume that this person is out to sabotage me because they haven't responded to my email, or that this person absolutely hates me because they didn't give me the seat on the tram. And you don't see what is happening on the inside of another human being, and we don't communicate what is happening on the inside of us enough to be able to give or afford each other that kind of level of compassion. And here's the thing, if we presuppose, if we assume that the person in front of us is hurting in some way, shape or form, because we all frigging are, unless you're a psychopath. We all have emotion, we all have fear, we all have worry, we all have anxiety, we all have those emotions because they're fucking human. Welcome to the human race. If we can assume that about somebody else, maybe, just maybe, we'd be a bit more compassionate. And maybe, just maybe, we'd stop looking at the world like it was full of assholes and wankers and start realizing that people are doing the very best that they can with the resources that they have available to them. And we would give each other the forgiveness frame of, if you could do any better, you would. If you could run, you would, but you can't because you've got a broken leg. If you could be kinder, you would, but you can't because you have an inherent belief system about yourself or about the world of danger or fear or scarcity or whatever it might be. And actually, if we could look at our fellow man or woman and think, actually, that person is doing their very fucking best, maybe we would feel less like a victim in their pain. And a lot of the time, and I'm going to give you an example of this. So I want to take you back to like late 2014. And I was a waitress, right? I was frigging fucking broke. I was living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, and I was literally bussing tables for a living. I was 33 years old, and I didn't have any comprehension of personal development, did not know anything about the world of manifestation, did not realize that I was responsible for my own life. I was genuinely one of those people that just thought that life was dealing me cards and I didn't even know how to friggin' play them. And it was a shift, and I remember it so distinctly because that morning my boyfriend had split up with me and I had this completely broken heart. And I'd rocked up to this shift and I was hating my life. It was awful. And I didn't know what to do about it. And I didn't even know that I had the power to do anything about it. I genuinely didn't. I seriously did not have the comprehension or the understanding that I have now about how you can actually consciously create your own life and monitor your own thinking and therefore your own emotion and therefore create your own reality through the law of manifestation, right? And so, was just in this really dark, awful place. And that morning, quite literally that morning, my boyfriend and I had broken up and I was completely brokenhearted. And I walked into that shift and I was the worst waitress that you've ever seen in your life. I was fucking up orders left, right and centre. I got shouted at by the head chef because I put the order for a steak in wrong and it came back to the kitchen and he was angry with me. I got shouted at by a customer because I forgot to order his glass of wine. I got shouted at by a manager because I completely fucked up a table's order and she had to discount the bill. And I think back on that and I think if I had been able to take out that hurt that was completely and totally and utterly hidden from anybody else's visual representation, if I could take that out and I could put that on my sleeve, or I could represent that in a broken arm or in a broken leg or in a bust up face, what compassion would have been afforded to me that wasn't afforded to me because it just wasn't on physical show. And I think if we can, as human beings, assume that everybody around us is carrying their own emotional baggage in their own way, and it's no lesser or greater than yours because it's real and validated, then how much more compassion would we have for the people around us, and therefore how less pissed off would we be with people? Now, I'm not saying just go out there and assume that everyone is amazing and everyone is great and everyone is good and forgive every single person, because there are some people out there that you just should not be hanging out with, right? There are some people out there who are not your people and they're not living to your values. But again, that is actually not because they're bad people. It's just because they have a completely different reality to you. They've had a completely different upbringing. They've had completely different experiences. They've had completely different influences, and therefore they have completely different realities and different values. And if they don't mesh with yours, if they jar up with yours, if they piss you off, stop friggin' hanging out with them. But if we can assume that the person behind us is being completely and totally and utterly human, then maybe, just maybe, like my friend with a broken leg, we could do something tiny and small, like hold the door open for our fellow man, assuming that they are a good human being who is having a human experience, which at the best of time is hard fucking work. Then the world might be a nicer place. Then we might be able to afford forgiveness to the people around us and therefore not surrogate that dense energy of, oh, the whole world is full of wankers. And if we can assume that tiny little mindset shift, if we can just assume that people are good at heart, and if they could do better, that they would, then maybe we would feel happier about ourselves and about our fellow man, and therefore we would be able to put ourselves in those higher energetical vibrations and those higher energetic frequencies of love and compassion and understanding, and the world wouldn't feel like such a shithole. And people wouldn't feel like such assholes. And therefore, we might just feel a little bit happier and a little bit better about being a human being. And so I really wanted to put that out there to the universe, because as someone who used to think that the world was just full of assholes, and for somebody who genuinely used to partake in that bitchy, toxic kind of mentality of ripping other people down because they couldn't assume goodness in other people, it was just not a nice way to live. And I think the communities that we're trying to build and the connection that we're trying to maintain in a world which is, in the Western world especially, quite devoid of community and devoid of connection in so many ways, I think it would be much easier for us to communicate and connect with each other if we were just a little bit more compassionate with each other and just assumed that people are doing their very, very best. So just wanted to leave you with that one today. As I said, if you want to learn a little bit more about the way that I think and the way that I have consciously created a life for myself, which has gone from assuming that the whole world is full of evil and danger and torture and assholes and being a broke waitress, to finding myself standing in front of 200 women yesterday and creating this phenomenal business for myself and a phenomenal lifestyle for myself, whereby I am happy and compassionate and kind, and not just to other people but more so to myself, which was a real revelation for me. Then, as I said, join my Facebook group, That Crazy Thing Called Love, because I will be going live in there at some point tomorrow to give you the steps that I actually took between then and now to create that lifestyle for myself. Did I see the Sarah Silverman tweet thread in response to a negative comment? No, I didn't, but I'm going to go and check it out right now. Hi, Julia. I hope you're well. Hi, Summer. Thank you for joining me. Anybody who's just jumped on, I'm just about to jump off, so you will need to catch the replay. But thank you all very much for joining me today. As always, it is an honor to share some time and some space and some energy with you. Go forth and be compassionate to your fellow man, because it is my personal belief that everybody is born with a pure heart. And if you had the experiences and the upbringing and the influences and the mindset and the physical makeup of the person next to you, you would be reacting to life in exactly the same way that you are, that they are. You rock too, Brendan. Thank you very much. And I do hope that it stops raining in Spain. All right, I'm about to start waffling, which is always a sign that I should sign off. So thank you ever so much for joining me, and I will see you all very soon.